All right, let's jump right in. Imagine you're a pilot, but instead of a plane, you're in charge of a massive company. How do you practice flying through turbulence without, actually crashing? Well, that's where something called strategic financial modeling comes in. It's basically a business's flight simulator.
I mean, seriously, have you ever stopped to think about how these giant companies, the ones making billion-dollar decisions, actually predict what's coming next? How do they peer around the corner and prepare for what's ahead? It's definitely not a crystal ball, I can tell you that.
The secret? It's actually pretty straightforward, but wow, is it powerful. They build a simulation. It's like a digital copy of their entire business, a kind of financial playground where they can test out wild ideas and prepare for the worst, all without risking a single penny of real money.
Okay, so what is this simulation we're talking about? This brings us to the big question. What is a financial model? The easiest way to think about it, it's the master blueprint for the entire company. And look, this definition nails it. A financial model is so much more than just a boring spreadsheet crammed with numbers. It's the company's story, all its ambitions, its strategies, its potential pitfalls, all translated into the universal language of finance. What's really cool is how it connects everything, sales, marketing, operations, and shows you how one tiny change over here can create huge waves over there.
But a blueprint is just a piece of paper until you start building. Same thing here. The model is amazing, but the real magic happens when those numbers get turned into actual decisions. So let's talk about that. How do you go from a model to real-world action?
Yeah, this quote really hits the nail on the head. A model that just sits on a computer? Completely useless. The whole point, the entire goal, is to turn its insights into what we call an actionable strategy. And don't let the jargon fool you. That's just a fancy way of saying, okay, so what's our plan? What do we do now?
So how does that translation happen? Well, it's usually a pretty clear three-step process. Step 1, you build the model, your financial blueprint. Step 2, and this is the fun part, you get to play what if. This is where you test all kinds of scenarios. What if our sales go through the roof? What if our main competitor slashes their prices? You get to simulate all these different possible futures. And then finally, step 3. Based on everything you've learned, you build your actual strategy, your concrete plan of attack. All right, so we get it. A model is a blueprint, and it helps create a strategy. But where does the rubber actually meet the road? Let's take a look at 4 key areas, kind of like corporate playgrounds, where these financial models are absolutely essential. First up, the high-stakes, high-drama world of mergers and acquisitions. We're talking about one company buying another. You can't just go on a gut feeling here, right? No way. They build incredibly detailed models to see exactly what the new combined company would look like. Is 1 + 1 really going to equal 3? Or are there hidden problems we're not seeing? The model gives them the hard data they need to make that billion-dollar decision. Next on our tour is project financing. Think about huge, massive projects, like building a gigantic new factory or launching a product all over the world. A financial model is absolutely critical here. It helps forecast everything, from how much the concrete will cost to how many widgets they'll sell in 5 years. It's all about figuring out if the whole thing is actually a good idea before a single shovel hits the ground.
Okay, number 3 is something that hits home for every single business, from the corner store to a global giant. It's called working capital management. And this isn't about those big, flashy decisions. This is about the nitty-gritty, day-to-day financial health of the company. Literally, it's lifeblood.
Think of it like this. It's a constant balancing act. You've got money coming in, that's your revenue, and you've got money going out to pay your team, your suppliers, the rent. A model helps you manage that flow so that you never, ever run out of cash. It's what helps a CEO sleep at night, knowing there's enough money in the bank to pay the bills next month.
And our last stop, number 4, is performance improvement planning. Here, the financial model basically becomes a high-tech diagnostic tool for the business. It's like putting the company under an MRI. It lets leaders look under the hood and ask questions like, hey, what would happen if we raised our prices just a tiny bit? Or can we cut costs over here without causing problems somewhere else? The model simulates all those little tweaks to find the ones that'll give the biggest boost to the bottom line.
Okay, so we've seen where these models get used, but so what? What's the real payoff? Why do companies invest so much time and energy into this? This is the big why it matters for any business that plans on being around for a while. It all boils down to 3 huge benefits. You can think of them as the 3 pillars of value. First, you get way better decision-making. No more guessing or just going with your gut. Now, your choices are backed by data, and that just slashes your risk. Second, you get much smarter resource allocation. The model points a giant arrow at where you should put your money and your people for the biggest bang for your buck. And when you put those two things together, you get the ultimate prize, long-term value creation. It's how you build a company that's strong, stable, and set up for success for years and years.
And that brings us right back to where we started, with that flight simulator. A pilot uses it to practice flying through a storm, handling an engine failure, landing in a new airport, all safely on the ground. A financial model does exactly the same thing for a business. So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. If a financial model is a business's flight simulator, what future are you preparing to fly into?